So first off, what are the major qualifications for success in this occupation?
Well, so I think at the core of what we do, you have to have, I think I probably told this to you before, a passion for sports. Um, because even if you might be, a really great PR person, a great writer, really good with web design, whatever it might be, to be in this field specifically, you have to have at your core a passion for working sports
Mm-hmm.
because it's not going to always be like the glamour stuff where you're working men's basketball or stuff like that. You're going to have to work sports that you might not even know a lot about coming in. But that's kind of how you have to cut your teeth and everything like that. So specifically for athletic communications, I mean, I'm sure Zach's answer was a little bit different, but for athletic communications, I mean, you have to be solid journalistically. You have to be able to how to string together sentences and paragraphs and stories and things like that. You have to have good verbal communication skills. Certainly, that's very important. But at the core of what we do, you have to you have to have a good working knowledge. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can learn,
Mm-hmm.
but a good working knowledge and a passion for especially college athletics.
Okay, perfect. Next, how do you meet and recruit new employees?
So, for full time employees, um, I really, to be honest, in my 30 plus years, um, I try to avoid advertising like nationally. Like if we have an opening here, an employee leaves,
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to rely on like some of my like local, a lot of the other local sports information directors. Um, to give me a recommendation, maybe someone that they have
Mm-hmm.
that's looking to take a step up, maybe from someone maybe like a grad assistant that's looking for their first like full time job,
Mm-hmm.
or someone that maybe is like the third assistant, and maybe is looking for a step up,
Okay.
to get like to the number one level assistant type thing, um, because even though there are a lot of great benefits to work, the great benefits to working here. The
Mm-hmm.
Usually the starting salaries aren't phenomenal,
Right.
so I'm not gonna like recruit nationally and fly somebody in from Colorado
Mm-hmm.
to apply for a job which you're making $40,000 a year. Just
Right.
there's a lot of there's so many, especially there's so many schools in this area, the DMV, and even going up into Pennsylvania and a little bit west, that
Mm-hmm.
I've never hired somebody. I don't think that's been outside like a 3.5 hour radius of UMBC.
Okay.
So like I said, I'll use a lot of my local contacts.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Dave got hired. Dave, like I said, worked at the recommendation came from Mount St. Mary's where he
Mm-hmm.
was, and then he went somewhere in between. But that's how I got Dave. Shauna was a recommendation from the person she worked for at Temple University.
Mm-hmm.
So again, 2 hours in
2 hours.
Philly.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I've done it. It's you know people don't have to pack up their entire lives. They could take drive down to Baltimore. There's a lot of places to live in the area, as you
Mm-hmm.
well know. So yeah, that's kind of how I've done my my recruiting over my tenure here.
Okay. And then lastly, what is the benefit of networking in this field?
It's critical again in terms. I mean, the first thing is certainly from job, from hiring people.
Mm-hmm.
As I just pointed out that example. Um, I mean, it's interesting because it's a competitive industry. So we have our local rivals, Towson and Loyola, but I think from an SID standpoint, um, we tend to like lean on each other a little bit more. I mean, we're all trying to get that big feature in the Baltimore Sun or get TV people out,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we kind of understand at our level that you know we kind of work best, almost like sometimes working together than like working apart. Like we had this media day last week at the Towson's Arena,
Mm-hmm.
and we had seven Baltimore area, which extends out actually to Mount St. Mary's and Navy. So the five schools, Loyola, Towson, UMBC, Morgan, Coppin, Navy, and Mount St. Mary's. We all came together. We got a lot of press out of it. The Sun had a couple reporters there.
Mm-hmm.
All the TVs were there. Other media. Um, So I think, we work best together as a unit, even though we're in different conferences, most of us, because we kind of understand the Baltimore media, and we know that the Terps are going to get the lion's share of the coverage in Baltimore. And if we're kind of just fighting our own battles, which we have to do, we have to do a lot of it, but by working together, we can achieve something like we achieved last week, where we had a lot of success out of it. So, so I think networking on both of those two, both from a recruitment standpoint and even from a media standpoint, and we all realize we're kind of in this together. Mm-hmm. It's a difficult occupation. Where you work a lot of evenings, a lot of weekends, so we're kind of almost like, it's kind of like almost like a fraternity, so to speak. Right. You've heard of like a coaching fraternity, mm-hmm. and you might compete on game day, but you come together after the game, you shake hands, you try to help the other person out if you possibly can. I think from a communication standpoint, we try to do those same things.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.